Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dale Brocious. I'm the Executive Vice President, Chief Commercialization Officer for IACME, and welcome to the March episode of Innovation Insights. Look forward to having a great presentations today from multiple entities. So we've got kind of a good mix today with workforce, offshore wind, a recap of JEC, and an exciting presentation from one of our supplier members. So as just wanted to trying to get my screen to move forward. Let's try this one more time. All right, so let's see. There we go. So I just wanted to come back and remind everybody of the three themes of IACME: convene, connect, and catalyze. Bring people together, hook them up with each other, folks with solutions with folks that have needs, and then to catalyze new business growth, job creation, and investment. And that's all surrounded by the ways we do that through networking, training, interns, education, expertise, and other. So if you're not an IACME member, and we hope that you do become one if you're not, here's the link. It's iacme.org/members. Fill out the information form there. We'll get back to you with the information to become a member. So in terms of upcoming events, we will be at SAMPE in May in Long Beach. And to get a sneak preview of what SAMPE will be offering this year, that'll be April 22nd, our next Innovation Insights. So we'll have a couple of folks on from the SAMPE management that will give you a sneak preview of what you'll see if you make it to Long Beach. And we hope that you do, and you'll see us there as well. And we hope to see all of you that are members and potential members that will be members by then at our members meeting, August 13th through 15th in Indianapolis. Should be an exciting time. It's a great time to be in Indy. We've got a lot of big events planned. Those of you who have been to IACME member meetings before know how exciting these are and how much networking occurs, how much you learn, how much you help others learn. So back to Innovation Insights. All of the previous webinars are on the IACME website. We've had 28 episodes since May of 2021, and over 75 members and partners have presented in those episodes. So today, three great speakers. We'll start with Phil Rugile from Institute for Workforce Advancement, and continue on with Mark Sickels from Superior Industrial Solutions, and finish up with our CTO, Dr. Uday Vaidya. He's going to tell us what he saw at JEC and why it's important. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Phil Rugile, who's the Executive Director for the Institute of Workforce Advancement in Offshore Wind Supply Chain.
Thanks, Dale. And hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here virtually. Let me just do a screen share here.
While you're doing that, I just remind everybody, if you've got questions or comments, put them in the chat or in the Q&A box, and we will get to those as the session goes on.
Okay. All right. Everybody see my screen?
We got it.
Okay, good. All right. So
you might want to minimize the
oh, I just noticed that. Yep, sorry about that. So we are the Institute for Workforce Advancement. We are a nonprofit 501c3 that and I'll go through the history a little bit in a minute. We're based on Long Island in New York, about an hour outside of New York City. And we also have two DBAs that we've launched in the last 2 years. One is and they're both focused on the offshore wind industry, and that's important to us as someone who represents composites, and also from a manufacturing standpoint, as well as we are sort of at ground zero of the renewable energy sector for offshore wind at the moment, and there are literally billions of dollars flowing into the Northeast and Eastern Seaboard in support of these projects. So we've built out 2 websites, OSW Supply Chain, which, as the name implies, talks about supply chain opportunities and regulations and things like that. And then we just recently launched an educational website specific to Long Island at the moment, but will be expanded regionally beyond that. OSW Long Island is a careers website for the wind industry, so kids can come in and find a pathway potentially to careers. So what we actually do in more detail is we provide training programs and advocacy for the advanced manufacturing sector. We have a focus, or we try to get our students focused on areas such as aerospace, aviation, transportation, energy, and how composite careers fit into those industries. And of course, that's expanding every month. It seems I'm finding a new niche somewhere within a new industry sector that is where composites are playing. Our populations right now are heavily focused on high school kids, both STEM students, those who are going to be going off into 4-year degrees, engineers, etc., material sciences, as well as those who want to work with their hands, and they're going to be going down a path of getting certified for any number of careers, whether it be, welding, CNC, composite technician, etc. And we do this program. We do programming also for adults, for trade unions, and for the industry at large. As a 501c3, we do have a mission which sort of focuses on serving underserved schools and communities to try to build awareness for populations of skilled workers that we know are not being guided by career counselors or others into careers in advanced manufacturing. So here's an example, these 3 pictures of our program in action. Currently, we are running inside of the Cradle of Aviation Museum, which is an amazing aerospace museum. If you ever get it into New York, New York City area or Long Island, I'd encourage you to stop by and take a look. It's a pretty amazing space. So we have a small lab and classroom within that center. On the left here in the pictures, we got a group of high school kids. This was our first post-COVID class, actually. You'll notice that at that table, there's only 1 boy and the rest are girls, which is an interesting trend we've been seeing in the past couple of years, where more girls are taking our courses than ever had before at the high school level. In the middle, we've got a group of trainers from District Council 9, which is the finishers union. And these are the guys who hang from bridges and towers and other structures and do things like sandblast steel and then have to recoat them. They're working with all sorts of advanced, chemical treatments and whatnot. And now they're having to work with carbon fiber, and they needed to understand what that meant. So we've had 2 cohorts of their trainers in exposing them to the best practices of working with carbon fiber material and resins. And on the right is our small oven that we have inside the Cradle of Aviation. So we have a portable vacuum bagging system, and then we cure overnight in that oven. So we came from a place some of you may have even been to on Long Island. It was called the Composite Prototyping Center, established in 2013. And that had an emphasis on industry design and prototyping with low-level manufacturing, and education was sort of a second consideration or second-tier offering. That was a very expensive operation, and it really did not pan out the way people had hoped. So during COVID, we actually sold off all the assets, those ovens you see, and the CNCs, and the carbon fiber replacement system that you see in the middle there, which is now actually sitting in Uday's backyard, probably one of his favorite toys at the moment at the University of Tennessee. And we relaunched as the Institute for Workforce Advancement post-COVID. So I thought the best way to kind of explain to you what we do is to just show it to you. So I have 2 short videos here, one focused on sort of an industry perspective and the other on education. So if you'll give me 5 minutes of your time, you can actually see how our programs run. We've found over the years, especially since the 1980s, that manufacturing has not been treated as a viable career option, especially for young people. And high schools are not promoting it as an opportunity. So we are trying to run programming that gets not only high school kids, but also young adults exposed to what a manufacturing career could look like, especially advanced manufacturing, which is high tech, clean, high paying, solid job opportunities and job growth opportunity.
I think it's a question of perception and how we describe these industries to young people who are beginning to open their minds to the idea of careers. We think that there's an emerging opportunity here for young people to get jobs in an environment where they can grow and learn, and we can build new technologies and create the opportunities right here on Long Island. And we're going to urge young people to think about that as a career choice.
I didn't know when I was 17 or 18 that this was on Long Island. This was something you could get into. I'm a composites technician in the Navy area of GSE. We make parts for the Navy, for the submarines, and some of the larger composites here. I think it's always changing, and we're always going to be getting new jobs from the government. There's always going to be new procedures and things we have to learn and do.
Composites is like a good field to go in. It's very hands-on, like hands-on learning. Having people come in and actually see what we do, as opposed to people thinking we're like on an assembly line, like just milling things out. Like there's a lot of small details.
If an individual already is experienced in high performance coatings, the introductions of composites into those coatings will become very familiar to that individual. They will come in here and understand the language involved, the inspection process involved, the conditions, and also the application and surface preparation necessary for the coatings to achieve ultimate performance characteristics.
It doesn't matter where your skill level is, we train you up, we start with you. And if you do have some background and skills in composites, it'll just move faster for you, and they may be the next instructors that come up, so all of it works together.
We're really about ensuring that across the whole ecosystem, as it were, people are empowered with information, they have education, they feel inspired by the industry, they're encouraged to participate in it, and they're not afraid.
I do a lot of workforce development. And part of the myth I try to break, at least here on Long Island, is that do I need to have a college education in order to get a high-paying job to take care of my family? If you can learn a skill or a trade in these fields, you can definitely take care of your family. You can definitely have a career. I can encourage them that, hey, if you go into this field, this is a booming field right now. You would do well, give it a chance, and I know you can get it done.
Okay. Give me 1 second here to get back to Zoom. Okay, and I got one other, sorry, let's see here. One more short video about the educational aspect.
We're at the Cradle of Aviation for the Introduction to Composites 2-day workshop. This goes far beyond what they would experience in most classes because of the fact of how hands-on this is.
I actually had a lot of fun. We learned a lot about composite materials and fibers and everything and how they help different industries, especially like planes and cars.
This program kind of showed us a lot of opportunities in this space and like how much it's evolving and how much we can contribute more to it.
Not every student may be looking for a college education. Sure, there are those who would like to engage in a conversation about composite engineering, but there's just as many who would be happy and satisfied with the composite technician position, and they don't necessarily need the 4-year degree.
I have never in my 27 years here seen demand like this. And I mean for everything from maintenance technicians, pilots, air traffic controllers, dispatchers, airport managers, engineers, I mean, just everything. And so creating awareness about all the opportunities that are available in aviation is one of our biggest challenges.
We are trying to run programming that gets not only high school kids, but also young adults exposed to what a manufacturing career could look like, especially advanced manufacturing, which is high tech, clean, high paying, solid job opportunities and job growth opportunities. Okay. All right. So the scope of what we do really focuses on high schools and young adults with our Introduction to Composites program, which is the video that you just saw. And also we have found this sort of new niche for labor unions who are now having to work with carbon fiber in ways that they have never done so before, and they don't really have that fundamental understanding of how these materials work. We also launched an Introduction to Offshore Wind Careers workshop, which I mentioned earlier on. That's specific to middle and high schoolers, and that's an in-school program that ties to our new web platform, oswlongisland.org. So we can go in, we can do a fun 90-minute workshop, and then as a leave behind for not only the students, but for the teachers and the guidance counselors, which are super important, give them access to the web platform so they can do more research and better understand the industry. So beyond what we are currently doing now, which we've done for over 250 students since we relaunched. And this year alone, I believe we're approaching 130 plus students already just since February. So it's really taking off, but we have bigger plans than that in 2024 and beyond. This summer, we're producing an introduction to drone manufacturing with composites, which is going to be a really interesting class, kind of a takeoff on our introduction to composites, but with a drone emphasis, and talking about design aspects, aerodynamics, weight considerations, types of materials used, embedded electronics, etc. It'll be a very unique program, and that's starting, and that's actually funded through industry support, one of our larger construction companies on Long Island called Hogland Industries. We're also going to be doing a regional expansion of our Introduction to Composites program, as well as the in-school offshore wind program through a licensing agreement, and that will get us beyond Long Island throughout New York State into other states as well. And last but certainly not least, in 2025, we are hopeful we will be launching a much more sophisticated workforce center in partnership with county government and other partners, educational partners. And we will relaunch a program we had at the Composite Center, which is a CerTech composite technician program, CerTech certified. And also what's brand new, thanks to IACME funding and support, and the work of a gentleman, Greg Malema, we have created a new certification for joining and bonding metals to composites, which I believe is the first certification for that particular process that I'm aware of anyway. And then also within that center, we will be doing a wind blade repair certification program to support both onshore and offshore wind industry opportunities that we have coming up. And that's going to be a global wind organization, GWO certification. That's an international recognition. So for Long Island specifically, we are about 85,000 plus workers in manufacturing. We've got about 300 DoD related manufacturers. And in fact, we're one of the 5 top areas servicing the submarine industrial base for the Navy. The Navy has recently designated Long Island as a flag, and will be supporting us through some large cash infusions to create career pipelines and workforce training programs to support that for the Navy itself as they embark on the next generation of nuclear submarines. And they need to find 10,000 new manufacturing employees per year for the next 10 to 12 years. So there's a huge need there. And just put it in perspective for us, between 2017 and 19, we saw about 15 to 20,000 job postings online. And it's a lot. So we're, like many other parts of the country, we're struggling to get those skilled workers, and it's an all hands on deck kind of effort right now. So I thank you for your time. That's my email, prugile@compositepro.org, and all our various websites listed below. And if I can help anybody with their workforce programs, please let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. If anybody's got any questions for Phil because of time constraints, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A. I know there's, for those that haven't maybe been paying close attention to the news, the Long Island area and the Northeast is, a whole bunch of offshore wind turbines will be going up over the next 6 to 7 years. And there is going to be a need for a workforce to build those turbines as well as to service them. So thanks, Phil, for that. And
thank you.
I look forward to the great work you continue to do.
Thanks.
So our next speaker is Mark Sickels. Mark is the Vice President of Composites for Superior Industrial Solutions. Mark will tell you what they supply and what they do, but Mark, we know you didn't get a chance to get on right away, and practice, get your slides up and going. So hopefully you're all ready to go. So
I think I am.
we just need to switch over to there and put it in the slideshow mode. You're good to go. Let her rip.
Thanks, Dale. I appreciate the opportunity to present Superior Industrial Solutions to everybody and really talk about some of the areas we spend a lot of time in for the future of composites from a Superior perspective. Some of these concepts by no means are new, but we still think they're important and really what we're focusing on with our customer base. First off, just a few things about Superior. We were founded in 1932, so we've been around for a while. We have 3 divisions, composites, chemicals, and recycling divisions. Our composites division started in the 1970s. The family decided in the early 2000s to convert our company to an ESOP, which is extremely beneficial from our perspective. And through that process, we've been able to come out of that as a 100% ESOP company in 2008. We have no corporate debt, a great D&B rating, and sales of just over $300 million in 2023. Being an ESOP and our financial stability really lets us look at things differently than our competitors in terms of how we try to interact with our customers and things we're willing to do for the long haul. We've got 8 full service facilities that we own and operate. At each of those facilities, we've got local storage along with our own drivers, customer service, and chemists on staff to help our customers. All those people are employee owners. As I mentioned before, we're an ESOP, but it does give us we think a big advantage in the marketplace in terms of how our customers get interacted with our Superior employees. Because they are owners, they do have ownership, and every time we sell something, they all get to make a few extra dollars themselves. On top of that, we also have public storage in 5 locations in Valdosta, Georgia, Evansville, Indiana, Eagan, Minnesota. We have a facility in Houston and a facility in Loudon, Tennessee. Those are our 5 public warehouses, and willing to put public warehouses in other places that we service customers out of. All of that is driven by customer necessity, and if there's a customer need, we're more than willing to invest some infrastructure from that perspective. One of the big areas that we really differentiate ourselves on compared to our competitors is our acetone replacement products. We first developed our acetone replacement products in the 1980s. Not only do we have acetone replacement products, but one of the big parts of our program is we lease parts washers to our customers. I'll put up a picture of one in a second with the link below. But from a Superior perspective, We lease those to our customers free of charge. All we ask is that our products end up in those parts washers. So it's a great way for customers to convert away from acetone. Acetone's a great cleaner. It's had, it does a great job, no doubt about it. It does have some inherent risks associated with it. From a fire perspective, I think everybody in this call understands how volatile and the low flash point that acetone has. And a lot of times from an insurance perspective, we've seen people get reductions in their insurance when they go to their insurance carriers and say, we don't have acetone in our plant anymore. Our big workhorse products, we have a longer list than that, but I thought I'd list the most popular ones. S280 Superflush has been around the longest and is one of our huge workhorses in the acetone replacement products. Super Blue, B2000, Unistrip, and Dibasic Ester are other products that we offer, and all of our parts washers are compatible with these products. So depending on what you like and trial, you're more than willing to put any of those in our parts washers. I'm gonna try to change screens, so bear with me here for a second. I don't know how to change screens. I'm gonna stop and reshare real quick, Dale.
Yeah, go ahead and share the other screen.
Yeah, I think it should be this one. Well, that's not working the way I thought it would.
Well, was there a tab up at the top that you needed to get to that wasn't Zoom?
Oh, that could be it. Right there, Dale, thanks. So this is a picture of one of our parts washers. Pretty simple, really. You put our chemicals in the bin wash basin, lower the shield to protect employees, insert your roller or other parts, and the pneumatic brush cleans the rollers that you have or other things. We also have a parts washer for the marble industry that's conducive to, I'll say, a tub of matrix that you would have mixed, and you just turn it upside down, put it in that parts washer, and hit the button, and it cleans the bucket or whatever you've mixed your marble matrix in. Get back to the presentation. But again, when the presentation goes out, there's a YouTube training link that we give to our customers that show them how to use the parts washers and what to do. But again, it's the whole program is designed around acetone replacement and on-site safety relative to some of the issues around acetone. One of the other things that we do, I mentioned we've got a recycling program at Superior Division. One of the big things that we do is recycle hazardous waste. So the waste that comes out of our parts washers can be recycled. We have our own Part B RCRA facility that is called Reclaim Energy that's located in Connersville, Indiana. There's three thin film evaporators and a couple of pack towers there that we use to recover spent chemicals from cleanup processes. So in the parts washers, when you empty those, you can put that in a drum, send the drum back to us, and we've got a recycling program for waste acetone and for acetone replacement products, either one. So if you don't want to look at acetone replacement products. You can send us your spent acetone and we can recycle that. Last year, that facility processed over 4.5 million gallons of hazardous waste. And it's a huge thing and getting larger and larger relative to how companies manage their waste, circular economies, and we've seen a lot more interest in this over the course of the last 5 or 6 years in terms of environmental responsibility. Typically, the recycled chemicals can get sent back to you, the generator, and we typically are able to do that at a reduced cost to virgin product. And through that, we manage all the disposal of the solids that are in that. So from a solids perspective, you would just send us the drum of waste acetone. We take out the solvent and the solids that are left in, that's part of our cost in the product that we sell back to you, so you don't have a hazardous waste disposal bill. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about the third area. This isn't new to anybody, but from our perspective, really getting customers to convert from open molding to infusion. There's still a lot of shops out there in the United States that are still doing things with open molding. We really are trying to get those customers converted over to some type of infusion process as fast as possible, whether that's RTM light, silicone bags, vacuum infusion. We really try to work with our customers to make sure that we pick the right form of infusion. Not the right form isn't, the same form isn't there for everybody. I think every shop has got their own items that are needed and are specific to them. Obviously, some of the huge benefits from infusion are reduced labor, reduced admissions, improved efficiencies in terms of how often you can turn a mold. You can be a lot more efficient with infusion processes. To run into some of Dale's comments that he just made, every shop that I go into is struggling to find employees. I don't know of somebody who's not, even in the downturn that we're in to some degree in the RV and marine markets, everybody's still looking for people. It's a lot easier to find somebody that can go to work in a t-shirt and shorts and do infusion than putting on a Tyvek suit, a respirator, goggles, and putting their head into a mold and rolling out somebody that just sprayed gun roving in or laid some type of reinforcement into that mold. Some of the other benefits that we've seen, obviously, you make more consistent parts with infusion. You also can make lighter parts. I think that's nothing new to this group, but it is something that our customers are seeing the benefits of, obviously. I think two of the biggest barriers that we've seen to this process are in terms of converting people from open molding to infusion is tooling. A lot of customers don't have the right tooling. I think everybody's getting better at using their current molds in some type of infusion process if their flanges are wide enough. But in some cases, there's a barrier because people have to make tools. And I think the second largest is change. Hey, we've made parts this way for 40 years. Why do I have to do something different? There's a lot of shops that struggle from a culture perspective, getting people to change from open molding to infusion just because of a change in culture. From a superior perspective, some of the other things, obviously, if you're converting from open molding to infusion, you need a new laminate schedule. We've got people to help with that, whether it's our suppliers, and our suppliers can help with verification of your laminate schedule. We have a marine architect that can help us from a marine customer's perspective. One of our big suppliers, Medix, has a product called MediCalc. It's on their website. So if you go to medix.com, MediCalc pops up. It's a software you can put in your resin, your laminate schedule, and it'll give you a list of properties that laminate will have. I mentioned this earlier, but again, there's different processes for different parts. So you may in one area be able to use a silicone bag. In another part where you need to have the A and the B side have a Class A finish, you might have to do RTM light. For your hull or a large part, you might want to do infusion bagging. From that perspective, we're there with our customers from the beginning as they go through this conversion process. And as they go through that, we also supply them with SOPs/work instructions for their process with pictures and instructions. With the turnover that shops have, it's always good to have something to fall back on. And that's something we know if they want to make consistent parts using infusion, you have to have some type of work instructions to make sure that in a year when everybody that's superior trained is gone, you can still have something to fall back on from that perspective. From our partners perspective, here's a list of our, I'll call them major partners. I'm not going to go through and read every one of these. But it's a long list. If you need something in the composites area, we have it. So reach out to us. Through our partners that I've listed, we're actually going to have an infusion class in the third quarter, primarily going to be sponsored by AOC, Medix, and Superior, but we will have an infusion class in the third quarter at Medix's location in Gastonia, North Carolina. That's going to be open to our customers. We think that'll be a great first step in terms of educating customers on the different processes and the benefits to infusion. With that, I think my 15 minutes is up, so I will go to the next slide. And just if you need something, please reach out to us. We're here to help you and would love to talk to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Couple of things. Yeah, one of my observations is I've not met anybody who has switched from wet lamination to a closed mold operation, whether that's light RTM or silicone bag or vacuum infusion, and then said, well, that didn't work, I'm going to go back. So I think, there may be one out there somewhere, but it does not happen. People once they make the switch are definitely realize the benefits of the reduced emissions, the worker safety, the retention of employees, and actually, the higher quality of the product that they make. So there is a question that was in here is, and I think this refers to the acetone recycling, and it was, what's the grade of the material that comes back to the provider of that waste acetone? Is it a commercial grade or reagent grade?
I wouldn't say it's a reagent grade from a chemical perspective, but if you put a 5-ounce sample bottle of our recycled acetone next to virgin acetone, you couldn't see the difference. Obviously, if you ran it through a GC, you would see some different peaks in it. Like there's going to be a little bit of styrene left in the acetone from composites versus virgin acetone, but the product's going to be 99+% acetone. And, we've got different specs for those grades. We've got a composites grade acetone recycling program where we take in a few drums from this person, a few drums from that person, and combine people's waste acetone into a stream. But that stream has a spec that we release it against, and feel more than willing to share that spec with anybody that would like to see it.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people in the industry have a hard time figuring out what they're going to do with with that drum of waste, and it's good to know that, you've got that solution out there. So thanks again, Mark.
Yep, I was saying, and if you just have hazardous waste, we can take that away too and dispose of it. So if you just end up with that spent drums of gel coat or resin, we can help get rid of that too.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate it. Thanks for that, Mark. And we will move on to our third and final speaker of the day. It's our CTO, Professor Uday Vaidya from the University of Tennessee. And one of the things that inspired me to ask him to do this is he posted a pretty clever video on YouTube, not on YouTube, sorry, on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago after JEC that I thought was quite informative, and he got to get around the floor a lot more than I did and got to see a lot of neat stuff. And so I felt like what we really needed was what I saw at JEC and why it matters. And so Uday, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I suppose, like Dale said, I'll give you a quick preview of JEC. Of course, many of you might have already been there, so it's not new to you. But I just want to make a disclaimer that this is just the small part of JEC I saw. This is a very big show, which is impossible to cover everything. So I'll make that point right away. It was in the early part of this month. Many of us were there. And let's see here. So stats-wise, of course, about 43,500 plus attended this show. This is it is the largest show in composites in the world, with 1,300 plus exhibitors and 8,000 business meetings. So a lot of activity goes on. And it's really amazing to just be there, I guess. This is our probably the fourth or fifth time I've been to this show, thankfully. So this is the standard entry where you go through the RER station and just start walking, I guess. All day you're walking. So you get in your steps along the way, which is a good thing. Minimum 20,000 steps as far as I kept count. And please jump in if you have more to add to what I'm saying here. So of course, there's a huge gathering at the entrance. So when it's 9 a.m., everybody is happy to get in. And that's the entry of the show. As many of you have obviously been there. So it's very, very energetic, and you really are so full of energy when you enter in being in composites. The US pavilion is always a high attraction. This year, there are over 100 US exhibitors at JEC, and they do a special ceremony to inaugurate this pavilion the morning of the show. And this is just some briefs from there. And this is the ambassador, Denis Bauer, who actually a US ambassador to France. So Eric is the CEO of Jeff. And Eric is a very good colleague and friend. So, of course, the IACME booth had a lot of activity. We have had a booth for almost the last 5 years, and that's Dale there doing something as always, and Derek and John Winkle, Mark, some of our key players at the booth. And this year's JEC, I think you always look at what is the theme. This is right at the entrance. The biggest theme this year was sports, composites in sports. And I'll not read this list, but give you some snapshots of really these seem to be like the key things happening. Automotive, aerospace, of course, a lot of sustainability, mobility, robotic automation, intermediates, recycling and innovation. So again, like I said, it is too exhaustive to cover anything here. But this is a snapshot on the entry on the sporting side. And this goes on and on for at least a full 2-3 minutes. I'm going to pause it here. And one amazing thing was this rowing boat. As you can see, this is the entire body is, of course, a carbon fiber body. You saw a lot more carbon fiber at this show than any other fiber, at least to what I could tell. But this is literally a single person can carry it around, and it was just amazing to watch this rowing boat. Almost every conceivable application in sports also had this, not only composites, but most of it now the use of sustainable materials to produce some of these. I just thought that was fascinating, and here are some examples of that. Another cool thing was bicycles. There were at least 5 or 10 different bicycle models. This caught my attention because it's a folding bicycle. You can carry it in a backpack, which in Europe they do a lot in trains and everything. And more bicycle technologies, like this is an infinite track. This one right here is, of course, very light Tour de France style. A lot of tooling that goes on in bicycle frames was also on display, which really for the enthusiast and anybody in sports, it was just quite amazing. Obviously, fast cars has always been a theme, but in this very vehicle right there, if you look at the number of carbon fiber parts that was demonstrated, was a lot more than before. Actually, they had converted, I would say, a significant chunk of this vehicle with carbon fiber presence. And one of the coolest thing I saw was the solar power car here. So this car, the body in white is all kind of stamped thermoplastic carbon composite. And if you look at the styling and trim, it was just fantastic. But every single body panel on this uses the solar panels that this person is carrying on his hand. So this kind of gets placed over the entire vehicle. And it has a range of 160 kilometers. So anybody doing a daily commute, I thought that was just, again, quite an amazing technology. And all their panels on this were stamped in actually thermal stamping kind of approach. So this was, to me, one of the key innovations in the automotive side. Same with hydrogen racing continues to dominate with filament wound vehicles. There's a lot of filament winding and much more high resolution processing in this vehicle shown here. The other thing was wheels are always composite wheels. You've all seen those, but for the most part, they have been continuous fiber, expensive, of course, but high performance. For the first time, I saw a carbon SMC wheel being introduced at the show by Vision Wheel, which is in Huntsville, actually, and they are they showed all kinds of evidence of track performance and very amazing development in the wheel side, I thought. Agriculture vehicles continue to expand composites, the tractor covers and so on. A lot of SMC use on this as well as RTM for the most part. But these, the Class A or close to Class A finish was very interesting as well. This intermediates, again, the volume of intermediates introduced has just been mind-boggling. In this case, everything from discontinuous, continuous, hybrids, what was not there even a few years ago now seems to have become commonplace to choose from, including the right-hand side shows a lot of the recycling intermediates that now have become quite commonly used. That continues into colored fabrics, of course. These have the options of colors I thought was very, very broad. This is the ultrasonic welded preforms, which again is a new thing that I had seen. And of course, bladder molded preforms for rackets and things. And the complexity of honeycombs was also incredibly amazing. So those on the intermediate side. Overmolding was very rampant everywhere. So this is a motorcycle seat with a, basically the seat itself has just a single layer of organo sheet, glass PP overmolded onto a long fiber with angle. And this increases the stiffness by 11% just by a single layer of glass overlay onto a substrate right there. And you might have seen this, of course, but you can see. So the organo sheet is picked up, it's actually heated, goes into this mold, gets placed, and then it's back molded with the long fiber to produce complex geometries such as these. So that was really, I'd seen this technology before, but the cycle times were like less than 2 minutes now. Another area of overmolding I thought was very interesting was this additive printed ribs on the substrate. Like this is obviously a composite skin, but now there's been a large program in Europe where they've looked at the synergy of additive for adding complex ribs in this structure. So a lot of data on performance and designing with such concepts were introduced. Sustainability was everywhere. You couldn't walk a booth without seeing the word sustainability, which many of you probably can realize that this was not the case even 2-3 years back, but now it seems to become a big centerpiece attraction. And the amount of parts displayed with this was again mind-boggling. If you look at the continuous, discontinuous fibers combinations, the bumper made out of just discontinuous SMC, the parts made here through continuous fiber skin, and look at the trim and the formation of these was again very interesting. We saw full bodies now of what was generally only interior parts. A lot of the exterior parts now have started using natural sustainable materials, and this whole vehicle was on display, very fascinating. And then some components, I couldn't quite tell what they were, but they looked cool, so I just added it here. But here, if you look at this, showing hybrid technologies of carbon fiber along with sustainable fibers, so which obviously means they've overcome the issues of thermal, degradation of the natural fibers, processing at high temperatures, or in this case, I believe the resin is mostly epoxy, so that may not have been an issue, but nevertheless, hybridization has become very important, along with complexity. So recycling, there's a lot of recycling going on. This is just one caught my attention, was using shredded material to produce, panels, which actually IACME has funded a very similar effort in the US, but this was the complete line on display using recycling shreds to produce complete parts. Aerospace was very dominant in this JEC. It has been before, but I saw a lot more aerospace this time than before. And more examples of very complex structures with very carbon intensive aerospace applications. Along with that, of course, unmanned and, the flying birds was at least 2 companies had their models on display. Most of the crowd was at these 2 vehicles right here, but this is the same company. I just took 2 different shots. Again, simply fascinating. And these guys sit coolly in their Taurus booth here, but I really find this fun to watch because they have high-level meetings right in an aircraft on the floor, right? So that can't beat that. Missiles, not many missiles were displayed at JEC before, but this was an entire body which was actually on full display. I even added a sound effect there. And drones, a lot of drones, at least 6 or 7 models I could see. Very interesting, again, highly carbon fiber dominated drones. This was very cool from Toyota, which was basically looking at the So they're optimizing, very toe brake kind of preforms, creating the body structure and essentially adding all the parts to that. So the amount of weight savings, as they show in the chart there, as well as the torsional rigidity enhancement was very amazing to see. This was an entire set of Toyota and its suppliers in one part of the conference. The other unique thing was a multi-feed automated fiber placement. Like Phil just showed you our ATP machine, which is a single feed. In this case, they were coming at it from multiple sides to produce very complex arms and bracketry, things which, again, I had not seen before. Very unique technology. Earlier years, this was quite commonplace. I mean, not that common, a big area additive manufacturing. Now it seems to be like a given. So it was no longer a innovation anymore. It was like so quickly in 3 years, things changed, And yeah, that's my guitar sound, a lot of musical instruments. And extreme environments thing, like looking at silicon carbide cones. I was even surprised they were allowed to show this at the conference, but then there was also a burst filament wound burst tank to demonstrate the enhancement of strength in this tank. So I know I have only 2 minutes, I'll go real quick. Wind-borne energy is of interest to IACME as well, and there was an entire part there which showed this skeleton of the blade used in airborne wind. I think Brian Rice at UDRI is working on a similar project with this kind of technology. This was a statistics which I think we all should probably pay attention. Vastimil Kong, he took a survey at this and saw that China is installing a 150,000 ton per year capacity for pan production. So basically they're talking about quality to produce T700 to T900 carbon fiber. So if all of this was converted to carbon fiber, it would be 70,000 tons per year, or 50% of the world capacity coming from consumption coming from China. And this was just one company in Jilin, and Vast points out that there are 11 such provinces with carbon fiber. So capacity in China. So this was a game changer, I think, coming down the road. So some very quick notables. IACME was present in coordination with Oak Ridge and partners. A lot of colleagues are listed here who were at JEC. John Winkle represented DOE, which was great to see. And we had at least 15 IACME member companies present. ACMA, SAMPI, UAME, our close partners were there, along with global partners like Composites UK and CFK Valley, Germany, and many others, which I haven't listed here. I do want to point out that there were 2 surveys conducted by Oak Ridge, a sustainability survey led by Soida and Osgun, and carbon fiber survey led by Merlin and Vastimil. And this output of this would maybe of value to the stakeholders on this call. And of course, IACME had a lot of meetings and feedback. So collectively, we can provide you any info that you may look for. I think I'm almost on time, Dale. Dale was on a panel which was very well attended, and so was Joni, who talked about women in composites. So that is something to note. Joni fractured her arm during the tour. So despite that, she was the bravest warrior because she kept smiling, and nobody would have known if they had not seen the cast. So thank you, Joni, and that's Mark, of course. And thanks to Dale, when going to Paris, I got introduced to this dish called raclette, which I had no clue. And of course, the wine took care of all the issues at the end of the day. And yeah, that was it. Thank you so much. And thank you to JEC. So Dale, I'm done actually. So.
Thanks, Uday. I think most people know that the Olympics this year is going to be in Paris, hence the big emphasis on the sporting goods. So, so much of what happens in sporting goods is, or at the Olympics uses composites, from the bicycling to pole vaulting to the rowing and, tennis, and of course, and lots of other sports. And so composites are a very major element of all of that. And I was happy to lead you astray into a few restaurants and ply you with wine.
Yes.
So, and I guess even one night we had a nice Armagnac. So again, I want Uday, thank you so much for that overview. And I also want to thank Phil and Mark for their presentations today. Another good roundup of innovation insights. And we will look forward to seeing all of you on April 22nd for our next edition. Thanks again, and have a good week.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you all. Bye.